You're listening to WCEG Network, where the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. Log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on your smart television, on Roku, cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now on Fanbase and Blue Sky. Search us on WCEG Network. Subscribe us on all social media outlets. My name is Damita Chatman today, and I'm your host. Today, as my guest, is Dr. Steele, the baddest man from Birmingham, Alabama.
Tuscaloosa.
For Tuscaloosa. First of all, I want to say we apologize, but when we're fighting against the internet, things happen. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. This is the disclaimer. Everything that's said today is the opinions of the host and the guests, not the producers. I will tell you today that I got one of the finest men, and he know the politics, and so we gonna talk politics. So I want you to tune in, and if you don't like it, step on your toes, just ball your toes up and call me later. Dr. Steele, I want you to give me a couple seconds of your bio and tell us a little bit about yourself. Again, I want to thank Dr. Steele.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and being my homegirl, even though I'm from Tuscaloosa, right down the road. We had a very interesting life. I'm 78 years of age. I'm old enough and bold enough to tell the truth. Born and raised in Tuscaloosa. And make a long story short, one of the first black city council persons, Judge John England, prior to his being judge, city councilman, the two of us were the first black. And I sued the city of Tuscaloosa for single member districts, and we won and so forth and so on. I served 8 years. And after serving 8 years, the community drafted me. Matter of fact, I was in Libreville, Gabon, West Central Africa, when my wife called and said they want you to run for this new district. Make a long story short again, I was the first black elected state senator from Tuscaloosa since Reconstruction. Served there, I was elected 3 terms. And on my third term, that third year, I resigned my Senate seat to come to Atlanta. That was 2004, because everyone that was involved with SCLC, board members and all, Dr. Lowry and all, said that you need to come because we know you can save this organization. Make a long story short again, I served 2 terms with SCLC, got it on its feet, raised $20 million in 3.5 years. And I've always been an international guy. I'm doing a lot of international work now. But anyway, we saved SCLC, and here we are 21 years later. And I just stepped down from being the president CEO of SCLC this past August. So I passed the baton to none other than my chief of staff at that time, DeMark Liggins. He had been with me for 13 years, and I knew at the time that he could navigate us to the next level. And my next level is all about economics, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Steele. I watch you coming up because I don't know why I like politics, but I watch you coming up and doing some stuff, doing that I can remember when I was young. But let me ask you this. I heard you say this maybe a couple months ago, that you were not a Democrat, you weren't a Republican, you weren't an independent, but you were a Baptist. And so I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about that, and then we gonna dive deep.
We're gonna dive right into it. You're absolutely correct. My mentor was Dr. Joseph Lowry, along with others, but Joseph Lowry had a great impact upon my life. He actually trained me for the leadership of Tuscaloosa, and then not just local president, then I became state president of SCLC, and ultimately the national and international president. But Joe Lowry used to always say, and I'm confirming what he said and confirming the belief that I have. Joe Lowry used to always say that the two-party system in America is going to destroy America. We need more than two parties. That's first of all what he said. And number two, he said, we have two major political parties, and one take us for granted, and the other one just take us. He said, I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm thus said the Lord, and I'm Baptist. So all of that is to say that it's the system. I don't care if you're black, green, or white. As great as an individual as President Barack Obama was, we lost in 2013, June the 25th, 2013, June the 25th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We lost our civil rights. We lost everything we fought for. Somebody said, well, the U.S. Supreme Court gutted Section 4 and Section 5. Well, out of the 6 principles of Dr. King, I just got in from Washington, D.C., speaking 2 days at a convention there with entrepreneurs. And I told them about the 6 principles of Dr. King. Number 1 is gather information. Get your facts. After you get your facts, you educate the people on the facts. And all I'm saying is that the power of the pen when you are president of the United States of America, it's that power of the pen. When the U.S. Supreme Court gutted Section 4 and Section 5, then that brought about discriminatory practices again and segregation in state rights. We went back to state rights. Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay. We went back to state rights. And with state rights, you going back to Jim Crow. See, and I spoke in D.C. about this on Friday. Most of our people and other folks too, they don't even know that we're back under Jim Crow. You're a second-class Negro again.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard you say the power in the pen. So did somebody during that legacy didn't use that? They chose not to use that pen?
That's right, executive order. This is my point. When the U.S. Supreme Court, well, you see, and I won't call the name, but you see whoever's in office now, that individual is doing nothing but executive orders. Not to that degree. And other presidents. Well, let me just put it like this. The Emancipation Proclamation, that so-called freed the slaves, was through executive order. It didn't pass Congress. It was ratified through Congress 2 years later. So the power of the pen to do what's right. All I'm saying, whoever the president was, when the U.S. Supreme Court gutted in 2013, Section 4 and Section 5, all whoever had to do that was in that over was to do an executive order to restore it. They said, well, still executive order can be rescinded. Was the Emancipation Proclamation rescinded? No, it wasn't. So my whole point is, when you are in a system, let me just say this before I go to the systemic part of what I'm getting ready to say. When you realize the historicity of America, it's racism. And if you don't call it what it is, then I call you a scared Negro. And I don't fool with scared Negroes because they get you killed.
Let me ask you a question. You said in 2013, someone did not.
It was President Barack Obama who was president.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, if you didn't want to say that, I was going to say that. So do you think President Obama should have signed that executive order?
He should have done the executive order. He should have done an executive order.
So let me ask you this. You're not in his head, but just you being around, why didn't you think he did not sign that?
Because he had the wrong folks around him.
There you go.
David Axelrod, what, about a week ago, I heard him on TV criticizing Congressman Al Green for walking out on the president's State of the Union message. Now, who was David Axelrod? He was the major advisor to President Barack Obama.
But let me ask you a question about that since you brought it up. They talked about Al, Congressman Al Green so bad up there, and they kind of scolded him.
Right,
But they did not scold when them same folks was in the State of the Union and called President Obama a liar and everything.
A liar.
And that's they didn't say anything. So tell me, is it a double standard?
Well, Nancy Pelosi had the right to do what Mike Johnson did to Al Green, Representative Congressman Al Green.
Okay.
Nancy Pelosi had that same right in terms of being the Speaker of the House. They was there on the House side, not the Senate side. She was in charge of the structure of that State of the Union message. She could have gotten that young lady, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others. She could have done the same thing that Mike Johnson did to Congressman Al Green. She didn't do it.
So I'm trying to figure it out because, you know, we're in a critical time right now. And I'm like you, I'm getting tired of them, but I'm also getting tired of our folks doubling down and just not doing anything and passing the buck, just saying, well, no, we have to stand on what we believe on. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Fair-minded thinking white folks. Now, let me just say this. All white folks are not bad.
That's right.
And all black folks are not good. So you're dealing with the humanity of fairness and what's right. I don't care what it is. You need to stand for what's right. You cannot be a leader, and you ought to stop running for office if you don't have the courage or the backbone to stand for what's right.
I need you to say that one more time. I need you to say that one more time.
You don't need to run for office. And I'm talking about local elected officials, I'm talking about mayors, because it's affecting the whole world, locally, statewide, nationally, and worldwide. So all persons who elected, black, white, green, or blue, if they consider themselves a leader in the fairness of treating people, they should stand up and voice their opinion and lead the march. But this is my point. Politics has never freed the oppressed. We ain't never been freed by politics. Politics had to be made to do what's right, because too many times people are hung up on being prestigious, being the big Negro or the big white person or the big Caucasian. It goes both ways. And we learned that from them coming out of slavery. You get to be powerful over folks and control folks. That's how we would when we were slaves. The mentality and the overflow and the overlaps of us coming out of slavery, we picked up a lot of their bad habits. Bad habits are hard to reform or to transition because you want to imitate them.
Yeah, let me ask you, we got a question. Can certain executive orders be overturned, and why aren't they?
All executive orders can be overturned.
Okay. I think you done froze right there.
The executive order is the executive order. I'm going right to, just for today. The executive order is in front of the judicial. Okay. The judicial takes time to come and rescind, filing petitions, going to court, and the legislative part of the government could get in and bring about the enhancement of what we're doing, but nobody is saying nothing. But judiciously, when the president or whoever the leader is, primarily the president, stand up and say, I'm gonna do executive order to dismount Department of Education, I'm gonna dismount. it's going to take a while for the judicial to come in and have a hearing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So until those complaints and those petitions and filing those complaints come to the judicial setting of the structure of this republic, it will be the executive order that take the lead on the rule of law for today until it goes to court. Now, the other part of that, in terms of the 1965 Voter Rights Act, when we could have had an executive order to restore the 1965 Voter Rights Act, in the process of that, people would have been educated to the fact that you getting ready to take us back to Jim Crow. You getting ready to take us back to state rights. State rights is nothing but Jim Crow and second-class citizenship. But in the meantime, you would have had 50 million folks telling the U.S. Supreme Court and others, had they been educated on what was taking place with Section 5 being gutted, 1965 Voter Rights Act, somebody had a book pulpit and didn't tell the people. They so happy and proud of having somebody look like them that they didn't get the message. They didn't get the memo. So you got to read a lot of this stuff into it by going to the source yourself.
So right now, and I hear what you're saying, it's all about education.
Right.
Getting the information out. Let me ask you, where is the, and I'm going to say this because I might get in trouble, but it's okay. Why isn't our Black leadership in the pulpit taking a stand? You only have a few that are saying something.
Right.
Unless the cameras is around.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, I said it earlier. Too many people want to be in leadership roles and don't have the courage, not a backbone to stand for what's right. And when you go to the Bible and you're talking about for what's right, you need to use scripture to apply for today. Because as you know, Jesus Christ himself was crucified by who? Politicians.
All right. All right. All right. Do you think that some elected officials and leaders are turning a blind eye to what's going on today?
I go back to they're afraid. They're scared.
Okay.
Because we live in a capitalistic society. And see, what we don't have is that we don't have no economics. Mm-hmm. The reason the current administration getting around with what they are doing. Now, there are some folks responsible for Elon Musk being the richest man in the world, and it come out of Washington, D.C. Now, some of this stuff, I'm going to have to let folks go do their own homework.
Yeah, let them do their homework.
I ain't going to give you the whole buffet. I'm going to spoon feed you.
That's right, and that's what
motivate you and stimulate you enough to go do the research. Now, who gave Elon Musk $600-700 million to save Tesla? He was losing it. And it came out of Washington, D.C.
And so right now, Washington, D.C. gave him that money to save his company. And now he turned around and basically, you know how the folks say, he messing in their face now.
Right. That's right. He's now taken away from people what his business was losing and was taken away from him because he wasn't getting the support on that automobile. And he was losing it and was going to go out of business with Tesla. Now, what you need to realize, he developed a relationship with all the presidents because of money. And he got in with them. He got all of these trillions of dollars contract with the government. Now, to me, that's welfare. Do you hear me? Ain't nothing but talking about Medicaid. That's welfare. What he's doing, because somebody is getting something from his being the richest man in the world, and they want everybody else with the oligarchs. See, the oligarchs mean they take care of their people, and everybody else can go to hell. I'm not cursing. Hell is in the Bible.
That's
you have
right.
two choices. Either you go.
Right. I think you done.
I'm not predicting who's going to hell, but I guarantee you, heaven and hell is a realization of the truth. Ain't no purgatory where you get cleaned up. You either going to one or the other.
Right. Let me ask you a question. The way we in the times that we in right now, and you see what's happening, and people didn't believe Project 2025. They said it was a lie, even when people was trying to educate them. Now they see that the things is taking place. I remember telling people you better pay attention to Project 2025. They're gonna gut the Social Security. They're gonna take the Section 8. They're gonna take the snaps. And I'm gonna say some of our black folks just didn't believe that.
Well, they don't believe. See, even today, they are back in Jim Crow. Why? Because our leaders didn't tell them.
So I'm gonna come straight out. Do you think the Democrat failed United States of America when they was in control?
I think they failed black folks.
Okay.
Not United States of America.
Okay.
I think they failed black folks. Let me show you something. For every dollar that a white person get, I'll put it like this. If you sit at the table trying to get a contract and you have a Caucasian trying to get a contract, they give you the contract, but for every dollar, that Caucasian is going to get 83 cents out of a dollar. The African American going to get 17. Do you hear me?
You know.
That's racism.
All day long.
And we won't even cut. Racism is a virus.
Just like a cancer.
It's just like COVID. Absolutely. It's contagious. Well, cancer is not considered contagious, but COVID is contagious.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Do you think, and I want you to be honest, that's why I'm finna ask you this, because some people, especially some of our black folks, they want to tiptoe around this. Do you think right now that this administration is really trying to take the black folks back, and it's affecting everybody right now? Do you believe that?
Yeah, well, they already, first of all, they ain't trying. They already took us back in 2013. Let me make my case, okay?
Make it.
June the 25th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was in front of the Supreme Court building, not in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, but the building with 50 people. Should have been 50 millionaires. But nobody used their positions to tell and educate the people what would get ready to take place. So my whole concern is that when you don't know that you're enslaved, then you're talking about getting an education. I was at a meeting just not long ago, several days ago, in another city. And the lady was talking about black folks just don't know how to write grant proposals. I said, that's not the case, young lady. Let's go further than writing a grant. Let's go to your First National Bank or whatever bank you got in your community or downtown in your city. You got A1 credit. You still not gonna get the loan. They got what is called now underwriters. Do you hear me? They created underwriters. The general manager at a bank has no juice, no influence. It goes to an underwriter who you will never see or meet. See, I believe in relationships. It used to be when you knew the bank president and the manager of the bank, and you're a good citizen in that community, They knew who you were, and they would sign on a dotted line to give you X amount of dollars to go in business or whatever. That used to be because of the civil rights movement. But my point being, when this government gave the money back to the crooks from the financial institution, banks, and other institutions of money, when it gave them back the money, what statement was made when they gave the money back? Thank you for asking, I'll tell you. Too big to fail. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They are too big to fail. And I added to that, too big to fail and too big to go to jail. Nobody went to jail for those trillions of dollars.
Nobody.
Nobody. But let you or myself go down. Go down to, Miss Chapman, go down to the store because we're hungry. Got some folks at home that need to eat. And we just take 2 or 3 cans of camel soup and walk out the store, put up on our coat.
You going to jail.
They stop us in the parking lot and we go into jail. That's what this country represents. It represents the bias and the racist concerns of economics, where black folks cannot even get a decent loan because of racism. And our leaders are afraid to tackle that. They're afraid to mention that. And how in the world you going to become free and get out of this situation of poverty? Let me just tell you this. Dr. King said the 3 ills in society are racism, poverty, and militaristic. He also said America is the enemy. Secondly, he said America should have no poverty in this country, as rich as it is.
And let's touch bases right there. We shouldn't have homeless laying on the street.
No.
But right now, and if anybody been down to Mexico, and I'm just going to use the neighboring city, Tijuana, Mexico.
Right.
Some of our cities look just like that.
Right. It's because we are insisting on the needs of poor folks. You know, it ain't no more middle class no more. And that's the oligarchs. You know, that's what they want. The Putins of the world and the other dictators. They want to have their friends with their money and everybody else in poverty and poor. And they continuously put drugs in your community.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever, I know you heard this term, and maybe you can clear it up, because elected officials, some of them scared and they tiptoe around this. Explain this word that they're coming up with, a majority minority. Now, you either the majority or minority. You either poor or you rich. What is the majority minority?
Well, that all depends on where your interest is. You see what I'm saying? And let me give this expression to you. The diameter of your mind is determined by the circumference of your environment. Mm-hmm. What that is saying is that people think about the majority of the people who are around them and their environment, whoever they are. Mm-hmm. That's their majority. And who gonna say that we got a minority over here and a majority over here if you for what's right? You can't put no labels. See, that's what's wrong with America. We put too many labels on things. When I was speaking in D.C. just Friday, I was speaking, and then someone was commending me for being a baby boomer and passing the torch, you know, to the next generation and that type of thing. I said, let me tell you something. All y'all thinking about is like a buzzard, just flying around, waiting for somebody to die or to retire. And you want to take that position. You need to learn from us on economics. I've been in business all my life. I saved SCLC not one time, 2 times. Raised $20 million in 3.5 years. With all that lip service, I start speaking. I say, has anybody in here ever raised $20 million in 3 years and built a debt-free building? Nobody raised their hand. I said, well, I proved my case. Let me talk another 10 minutes. Listen, you build relationships on what's right. So we have relationship. When I say we, myself and my wife and I, my family and a few others, we have relationships around the world. I just sent a team over to China just last week. And I was going to Paris twice a month dealing with economics. And we getting ready to do some big stuff economically. So when I gave a speech in Berlin, Germany, just a few years ago, and I told them we lost the 1960 Voter Rights Act, the church like to explode, about 3,000 folks in the church. They like to explode. Why? Why did somebody tell us this, Steele? If African Americans don't succeed and be successful, that affects us. We won't make it either. So we don't realize the power that we have. We don't realize it.
I agree. Let me ask you, you're talking about economics and stuff, and I know you live in my neck of the woods. Do you think leadership matters when you're dealing with these relationships? You have to have relationships with these people?
Absolutely. But see, don't even use the word network. Network when you go to a reception or a party and pass out your card and get a drink of wine, pat them on the back, and you're gone. That's all you know about each other. See, most folks use network because it ain't no heavy lifting. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's no hard work. To build relationship, I got to fly halfway around the world to get in front of somebody. I had an office in Bethlehem until Hamas came in. I was in Bethlehem in Israel when Hamas was planning to come in on Israel a year and a half ago. My wife was invited by the First Lady of Israel to do a tour of women in the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying when you networking, you might do a Zoom after you leave your car, but that's not the impact. The impact is going halfway around the world if you have to. Japan, ain't too many countries I haven't been. And I don't go as a tourist. I go to meet and build relationships with the heads of states. Okay. That's what I do. I've been to Moscow, Russia. I've spoken in Moscow, Russia. I've been to Kyiv, Ukraine. I've been to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. When a lady came to my office 6 months ago crying and said, because of what you did in the workshops you gave down in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, we're going to step further with our freedom and justice. And she just started crying and had about 4 or 5 people with her. So what I'm saying, you build relationship, you build trust. People trust you. Charles, how much you need for that deal? Well, X amount of dollars, 50, 100. Don't shortchange the project. If you know that you can do the project, I need $100,000. Okay, when you need it? Yesterday. Okay, give me your account number. We're gonna put the $100,000, and that's how I built SCLC on Auburn Avenue. Do you hear me?
Do you think? Go on. You say 3 point what?
$3.5 million debt free.
Let me ask you: do you think the leaders today are just trying to do dress up resumes, and they're making a elected official's office as a celebrity and forgetting about the people?
Whenever you go to Washington, D.C. and you hear somebody say, that's a rising star, what do you think? You think of Hollywood, right? Or Atlanta Wood now. You see what I'm saying? A rising star. You're supposed to be here fighting, man. You should be a trooper. You know, you should be a general on the battlefield of politics, not no rising star looking for a camera. You see what I'm saying? So economics is what it's all about. You can vote and you got to vote. Let me tell you this, people died for the right to vote. I done gone to jail for the right to vote. I march all over this country and other countries for the right to vote. But there's something else to go along with the right to vote. You know what that is? Money. You got to bring economics money to the table, to the politics. Because that's who elected officials listen to, the people with the money. You got to have economics. And that's why America want to keep us broke. That's why you can't get a business loan or a renovation loan for your house or your office from the local bank. They're not going to give you the money.
Let me ask you this, because you have been around and you know, and you was back in there with Martin Luther King. And I had a friend, and I know you probably know him, have heard of him, Mr. Reginald Tatum, that passed a couple months ago. And he used to always say this and say, Damita, if you want to see something filthy, go down to these different cities where the Martin Luther King name at in every last one of them cities. Streets
Right.
is nasty.
Right.
Why is that, Dr. Steele?
Because, first of all, the people who are responsible for in each city come off the city council with the mayor and the city council, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you some things closer than Birmingham and Tuscaloosa where we're familiar with, but I ain't bashing nobody. We are more concerned about the image of Dr. King and quote Dr. King. But do you know Dr. King gave his life?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So the people in that community who allow the government or the mayor or any city or the city council of any city to allow them to have a downtrodden community with the name of Dr. King, they should be held responsible for.
I agree. I agree. Do you think right now, if Dr. King them could come back just for one day and see what's going on, what would you think they would say?
Well, let me give you a fact. 50% of Negroes when Dr. King was living hated him. Okay? Did you
Okay.
hear me?
I believe that. Being
50%.
out here in the
50%.
politics, I believe that.
50% didn't they call him a troublemaker. They kick him out of town, talked about him very, very badly. Even with Miss King, they didn't treat her with no respect after he died. That's why she started the King Center. It's a thing that we have to be healed from, and white folks too. And it's called jealousy. Jealousy is the enemy.
Oh, yes.
You and see, I had to school some folks in DC this past week. They get up there running, talking about they running for Congress, they running for this, they running for, and they up there cursing. Lord have mercy, I broke the speech up. I said, how in the world you gonna represent anybody and talking about this MF word and that word and this word, and you talking about running for Congress? You need to get down off that platform.
Absolutely. Well, you ain't got to go as far as Washington, D.C. You can go right here in your own city. and I'm gonna leave that right there. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that what is your view on the recent bombing of Yemen?
Well, it's deep. You're talking about Iran and you're talking about the current administration. Doesn't care anything about Iran. I'm like this, and Iran is supporting Yemen. That's where they're getting their resources from. America is about peace. See, even with Iran, you should be, regardless of the encouragement the previous administrations might have had with Iran and giving them the rights to a certain amount of nuclear weapons and things like that. You don't need to come in as an American trying to show up the man that was before you or the woman that was before you. But in this case, we haven't had a female president. So the man that's before you, you're doing all you can to tear down and destruct rather than bring about peace. And that's making America look bad in the eyesight of the world. See, America has to be very careful. And it starts with our elected officials. I mean, from all cities, Why you don't have a collaboration from all the mayors of the United States of America and city councilmen of the United States of America? And they should just put out one thing. Let's meet in Washington, D.C., and let's bring our constituents with us. Let's bring the people that. Can you imagine how many folks are going to Washington, D.C.? Now, the reason you having what you are having right, this is the most important thing I'm going to say to you and your listeners today. The reason you having the problems that we're having today, folks trying to dismount the federal government, dismount Medicaid, Medicare, all of the significancy of poor folks and people who just struggling trying to make it. You know why? Because June the 25th, 2013, I'm talking about fair mind and think of all people, black folks, white folks, Oriental folks, brown, yellow, green. Fair mind and thinking people want to do the right thing and morally want to stand up. When we didn't stand up, when the 1965 Voter Rights Act was gutted, that was Shelby versus Holder coming out of Shelby County, Alabama. That's where the filing of the lawsuit came out of. It went full circle from Birmingham, Alabama, right there in Shelby County. Full circle. And we relaxed on our laurels and thought because we got a little education, or because we went to this school or that school, or I'm in the middle class, or I drive a certain kind of car. You were thinking that gonna last forever. No, it never lasts forever. You have to, whenever you gain something, you have to always fight to maintain it. It's
Absolutely.
easier to obtain than it is to maintain.
So in 2013, we're going to go back to 2013. I'm going to say this because the Democrats had control then.
Absolutely.
The Democrats failed not only America, but they failed the black people.
About black folks, absolutely. Because it came about because of slavery. And now you're going back into Jim Crow, which is slavery.
Okay. Do you think that the black folks can get back to that point?
Absolutely. You know why? Because I believe in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what? God allows certain things to happen.
I agree with you.
So he can wake yourself up.
I agree.
You went to sleep and you thought you had it made.
I agree.
You know, so this ain't all bad. It's a silver lining in every crisis.
Absolutely. That's why I often say I might chime in to a little bit on the federal level, but I say I'm just going to get out the way and let God do what he do.
That's right. But he wants you to do your part too.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do my part now. You know I'm going to do my part. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that some of these Republicans, because you don't have all Republicans is not bad. Just like all good. Do you think they should stand up for what's right and stop bowing down to, I'm on the ballot next year. I can't lose my seat. Do you think they need to take a stand right now? Or
but it starts with us. It starts with us. Okay. I had some relationship. I got relationship, black, white, green, and blue, all over the world. I ain't prejudiced toward nobody. I'm prejudiced toward wrongdoing. I'm all for what's right.
Amen.
So this is our fight. The reason we lost, the Democratic Party did not invest in the grassroots community.
No, they absolutely didn't.
That's why you lost, because if you got an automobile, you never change the oil or look at your tires and clean it up, what's going to happen? It's going to fall apart.
That's right.
That's what has happened to the Democratic Party. It fell apart.
Do you think, I'm going to use this election?
And I'm not a Democrat, don't forget now. So I'm not an independent. I'm just saying the Lord.
Okay, let me ask you this. This last election, when I even thought that Vice President Harris was going to win. But when I got that feeling about 7:45 that night, I knew it was a wrap. Do you think that, and I'm using the minority people, the black and the brown people, failed and put all our eggs over into, and I use the word napping because if you call them white, they get mad. So I just call them a napping. Do you think we put too much trust over there where they showed America how they felt about us on November the 5th?
Did we put too much trust into what? I miss you.
Into the white people, the white women voters.
Well, since you said white women voters, the civil rights movement freed white women more than they freed black folks. Okay? And the white women never came out and said thank you. Do you hear me? White women was freed from the civil rights movement than anybody because they were enslaved too. The white man didn't give them no opportunities to do nothing. He controlled them. So they should have been in the front of the line. But racism and prejudice is embedded in us. You got to be healed.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
America has never admitted to the healing process.
Right. And let me ask you this. I got up this morning, long weekend, and something popped up on my phone this weekend. One of the basketball players that's playing in these championships, after they won a game, they went out. This young man went out and he praised President Trump. He praised him.
To what degree? To what degree?
I guess praising that he was good. He was doing a great job.
Well, you had Negroes like that in slavery. We always had Negroes like that. Okay. And, during the civil rights movement as well. A lot of them infiltrated the movement. And they felt the same way as you saying this young man said what he said. Matter of fact, since you want to tell the truth and
I want you to tell the truth.
It was black folks that set up Dr. King to be killed. Okay? How deep can you get than that?
So in other words, you're basically saying that we was crabs back in the 60s. That what you're saying?
We've been miseducated and disloyal. See that word, loyalty.
Oh, yes, that loyal.
See, that loyalty, we always been disloyal.
I agree.
Okay? It's about loyalty.
No,
what are you talking about, Steele? I'll take a bullet for you, but not today. You see what I'm saying? I will die for what I believe in.
I agree.
And it's loyalty.
Yeah.
And we never been loyal. So, okay, you disloyal and you jealous. That's a pattern for what? Failure. And all black folks not monolithic. They don't think the same way. Let me run this by you. And I had to learn this through example. I used to argue all night with some Negro trying to prove my point. But what I discovered, you don't do that. This is what I discovered. Exceptional thinking and vision will always conflict with ordinary.
All right. Thank you for that, because I argue with them.
No. You don't do that. You show them.
Show them.
You show them. Let me give you another one. A Caucasian lady died in the late 70s, Dr. Margaret Mead. She said all of the major and significant changes that was good for the world did not have a whole lot of folks or a crowd of people. It only took 3, 4, 5 people to make the change, and the rest of them follow.
All right. So it basically starts with leadership.
It starts with leadership, and you don't care who's behind you. You can be by yourself. A committee of one. Always say, I'm a committee of one. If you want to come, I will incorporate you. But I'm a committee of one. I'm going to do what I know God wants me to do.
I like that.
And he protects me. I'm the chairman of my committee. I'm the COO, the CEO.
I like that. I like that. Let me ask you a question. You froze, and I know you'll pop back up. Do you think in the next 4 years we can see we either gonna sink or swim in the next 4 years? Do you believe that some change is gonna be coming? I think you and froze, Dr. Steele. We got him. He's froze. But let me say this. Just listening to Dr. Steele and some of the things that he have said today, I have heard that uh, through a lot of people that dealt with the civil rights movement. And what I'm going to challenge the ones that's out here on the battlefield, because see, everybody out on the battlefield is not for us. We need to take a hard stand and believe in what we believe in. Um, if you believe in the fight, then you need to fight. Um, and I'm gonna say this. I know, and I use him, and I'm gonna always use him because he left something back here for me. Mr. Reggie Tatum told me in his last days. He said, "Damita, don't stop fighting for the people." He said, don't you shut that mouth, cause see them folks don't like you. These elected officials, he said, and I'm saying how he said it. He said, Damita, them elected officials don't like you. Them elected officials that's talking to you every day, they don't like you because you're going to tell the truth. But you keep on telling the truth. And when you know it's the truth, you make sure you get your facts together. You don't put nothing out until you get your facts together. But when you get your facts together, you put it out to the people. They either gonna like it or love it. But don't you never shut your mouth. And then when you get done, I want you to approve the message with your telephone number and you wait for them. I'm gonna say this. I was down in Louisiana this weekend. And some things took place down there to let me see some stuff. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone and go to other places. And riding in that van, it was a man that I met on Selma trip. And on the way back, I told I said, "Oh Lord, I'm surrounded by all these preachers in this van," and whew. And I said, "But you know what? It's a man in this van. Remind me of Mr. Reggie Tatum." And we didn't talk a lot about politics, but we talked about the different issues. And I'm going to call Dr. Steele while I'm talking to you to get him on. Let me give the producer his number. But we got to do better. We got to do better, and we got to make sure that we're for the people. And if you're not for the people, these elected officials, get out the way. Get out the way and let some folks that's going to fight. Because I don't believe in being, I just, I know folks call me messy because I tell the truth, but I don't care about that. And they always say I'm causing trouble. I don't care about that either. I don't even care about you talking about me because they talked about Jesus. Producer, call Dr. Steele for me. I sent the number over to you. They talked about Jesus. But we're going to have to stand for the people. And I'm going to say this, everything that's taking place right now down at the White House, it ain't like Dr. Steele say, it's not all bad. Because I believe that we're going to have a humbling experience. Some of us got too high. Some of the elected officials and got too high that you can't touch them, and I believe in, anybody that represent me, I need to have a conversation with you. Some of the folks don't want you to sit at the table with them. They don't want to break bread with you. They don't want to take your calls. They just want your money when it's time for election. We got to stop being to sellouts to these folks. And we got to care about the people. I mean, the people. Education is important. We got 4 years to go through this, what we going through. But as we go through these next 4 years, we got 4 years to get it right. And I'm talking about the Democrats. We got to get it right. And that go for all the Democrats. That go for the white ones, the black ones, the Chinese, all colors. And if they ain't doing right by the people, stop voting these folks in. Stop voting them in. Right now, let's talk about Georgia. We have so many black folks that's in charge, but they're failing the people. It has become such a polarized, the who's a who, the celebrity elected officials. But I want to know, and I'm going to use this, how in the heck can you say you are for the people when you driving down to these capitals and you got folks laying under the bridges? You got babies laying under the bridges, but yet you say you for the people. I don't understand that. You got elected officials that only come out when it's time to get your black vote. They don't give a rat's about you after they get in there. You can't even get a call from them. I'm not going to be sold out to none of them. You either going to come and have a seat at the table with the folks, the community, but I am not fin to be a sellout to none of these elected officials. You have a state that have so many, I'm talking to our people now, you have so many in power down here, but they get caught up into their world where they now are facing charges, treating people wrong. I'm going to say this again. If you are on the city councils, you have a city manager that's supposed to run the city. Your job is to only do policies and procedure and go home. You don't need to be out there trying to get economic development. You ain't out there. That's what you pay your city manager for, to do, handle that. Go home. You got 3 types of government: local, federal, and state. Anything that's under the state of Georgia is handled under that gold dome. It is very important for you parents to go to the school board meetings. Fight for your kids. Now they're trying to take all the stuff out of the school. Where is all these parents that got kids in the school? But y'all want to pass it on to folks, and y'all just want to sit back. It ain't that kind of party with me no more. We gonna have to fight together. We either gonna swim together or get out the boat. The decision is you guys, because the next 4 years is going to be telling. Education is important. In closing, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to be getting ready to do some stuff to educate the voters. Democrats need to educate their voters. Until you do that, we're going to have the same problem 4 years from now. You got to have a plan. You got to put your money into your field. I'm going to say it. The Democrats spent more money with celebrities that couldn't vote in the state of Georgia. Why the heck are you giving this celebrity 10 million to, I'm just calling some numbers out, and you don't have folks on the ground? It's called boots on the ground. I know y'all got this dance going around talking about boots on the ground. That don't mean nothing to me. We need boots on the ground to educate these people. Until then, we're going to be stuck in the slave mentality. Dr. Steele said it best. Negroes need to stop playing politics with the people and do what's right by the people. In closing, I want to thank you. We had some technical difficulties, but Dr. Steele was able to get on. We'll get him back on later. I want to thank people that have been supporting. I want to thank my producers and so forth. But we're in this together. I don't get SNAP benefits, but I'm fighting for the folks that get SNAP benefits. So until then, I want to thank you for doing what all you do. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.